This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by AWS. Amazon Q Business is the generative AI assistant that can securely understand your business data, summarize results, and streamline tasks. Learn what Amazon Q Business can do for you at aws.com/learn more.
Welcome to the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is. Covering news, notes, and opinions on your favorite football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, right here on the Eagles Pinpole Podcast Network. I'm your host, Phil Stifle. You can find me on all social media platforms at Beard and Knowledge. And, of course, hosting Trending in the AM every single morning on the STT Sports Network. Guys, it's time to talk about this Eagles team and just how elite they are. Is this Eagles team really a legitimate threat to make a deep run in the playoffs, to the Super Bowl, and maybe bring us our second Super Bowl championship? And I think the conversation really is picking up steam across the country after how we dominated the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, 27-13. I don't think people really have put into perspective how big of a game and how dominant of a performance that was against the Steelers. That was the lowest output the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has had since Russell Wilson has taken over the controls as the quarterback of that team. I mean, with Russell Wilson in control of that team, they put up 32, 37, 26, 28, 44, 27, and one of the most prolific offenses in football. And we held them to 13 points. And it's because of our elite defense that we have. We'll talk about the offense in a few moments and throughout the week, but I don't think enough people are talking about the Eagles defense here in 2024. How does the number one team defense in football, yards and points per game? And when we talk defense in Eagles history, we tend to look at the 1991 Eagles team, which won 10 games, but didn't want to lick in the playoffs. We always talk about the 1991 team. And yes, I did give a little comment there because everybody hypes that 91 team and they won nothing. So that's just my little side, little jab at that team there. But everyone talks about that being the best defense in Eagles history. Some really old heads might say 1949, but who knows? In the modern era, 1991 is the most, elite team. And it was led by Reggie White, who was third in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Seth Joyner, second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Fifth in MVP voting. You had multiple All-Pros, first team and second team in Clyde Simmons, Reggie White, Jerome Brown, bring it home for Jerome. Eric Allen should be in the Hall of Fame, and Seth Joyner. They had 55 sacks, 26 interceptions, 11 forced fumbles. They had elite players all over the place. But even they did not lead the league in points against like this Eagles team is. And while that team had all those elite players, this current Eagles defense has a lot of elite players. Jalen Carter should be in that conversation, top 5 Defensive Player of the Year voting. Zach Bond should be in that conversation, a Defensive Player of the Year voting. Hell, I'll make an argument that Quinion Mitchell should be in that conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He's putting up that phenomenal of a season, and I know he doesn't have the interceptions. This whole team as a whole doesn't have a lot of interceptions, only 8 on the season. But Quinion Mitchell can't get interceptions when they're only throwing his way 2-3 times a game because he's putting on such a clinic on the outside, shutting down wide receivers, and most of the time, pretty damn elite wide receivers. So this defense is stacked just like that. That 91 team had 2 elite linebackers. This team, I don't know if I want to put N'Kobe Dean the word elite, but pretty damn good. I want to say they had 3 great defensive linemen in Simmons, White, Brown. Well, we got Jalen Carter, who's like 3 elite guys, but they also have guys like Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, who statistically aren't putting up the sacks, but are actually performing statistically at a very high analytical rate right now. Nolan Smith is turning into a darn fine young edge rusher in the NFL. He's only got 5.5 sacks on the season, but I don't know if enough credit is being given to Nolan Smith for the improvements he's made. Obviously, Quinny Mitchell on the outside, matching Eric Allen back then, minus the interceptions. But we also have Darius Slay and Cooper DeJean playing at super high levels. You got Reed Blankenship and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Maybe they're not Andre Waters good or elite level of play, but they're putting up and doing the job that needs to be done. And it's pretty impressive to say. The defense might not have the flash that 91 had, but it's got the boom and team effort that I have never seen before as an Eagles fan. And the team effort goes to, and we've tried to do this in the past, and I'm going to do it again today. You know, we talk about Vic Fangio and how great Vic Fangio has been for this team. But what about all the guys working under him? Clint Hurt is getting a lot of praise this week because his name's coming up in the Jalen Carter, Clint Hurt, Nick Sirianni little scuffle. But what Clint Hurt has done with Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Moro Jomo, you know, all these guys does not get enough credit. Roy Anderson, the cornerbacks coach, he's got 2 rookies out there, and he's got the best secondary in football. He's got 2 rookies and the second oldest starting cornerback in football, and they're putting on a clinic out there. Joe Casper, the safeties coach, doesn't get any credit. Bobby King, inside linebackers coach. Zach Bond never played the position. Bobby King, tip of the cap to him, big time. These guys, defensive end, outside linebacker, Jeremiah Washburn, never even heard his name mentioned once this year. Assistant linebackers coach, Ron L. Williams. Let's give credit to the entire coaching, defensive team for sure, because they deserve it and they need it. Big Dom's going to lose some of these guys probably in the offseason to other jobs where they might, maybe somebody will become a defensive coordinator. Clint Hurt might be, they might get little upgrades in jobs elsewhere, but he's put together a hell of a coaching staff here that has literally got this playing. There's only 3 times in the history of the Eagles that they've had the number 1 defense in yards and points given up. 1949, 1981, and so far this year in 2024. That tells you how elite this season is defensively, and I just want to make sure we give as much credit as possible. Nick Sirianni spoke with the media on Monday, as he always does. Some notes from his press conference. I mentioned Darius Slay, and he spoke about Darius Slay. That was the first question asked of him, and he just spoke about how great he's been physically and mentally this year, getting dinged up multiple times throughout the season and being able to fight through it. And he mentioned there's a reason why he's got that C on his chest. And, so I just want to make sure. He talked about Lane Johnson and his performance against against T.J. Watt. I almost said J.J. Watt there. He just talked about how he's got constant confidence in him. Landon Dickerson, there's no information on his injury yet. They're still going through the process of testing him. It doesn't sound good in the sense that he'll play this week against Washington, but we'll know more on Wednesday after they practice. It doesn't sound super serious, like missing a significant amount of time, but it seems concerning the wording that Nick Sirianni used, that maybe he missed time, because then he did mention how Tyler Steen, outside of the 2 holding calls early, did fill in and settle in nice at left guard. That's something to look at and think about going forward. Talked about recruiting, retaining, and developing. That's what they're building this program, this team has been about. He did spend a lot of time praising Kenny Gainwell and how he takes advantage of every opportunity. He doesn't have a lot of opportunities, but he takes advantage of every opportunity. And Kenny Gainwell had a couple nice runs, a couple nice catches, and a couple nice, kick returns as well. And I forget the exact way he phrased it. I'm trying to read my shorthand notes here. He said he is a leader on this team, despite the fact that he doesn't have a C on his chest. He's not a captain, but he leads like a captain. something to keep in mind there. And he talked about, obviously, the Jalen Carter situation. And he made a point to make sure everybody understood, the reason why he was fired up. But he also understands how physical the game was. Jalen Carter just has to be smart in that situation. And he said they figured it all out. They worked it all out. Guys, this is the Eagles Checkdown right here on the Eagles Pinpoll Podcast Network. We got a lot of things to talk about all week long. I'm going to save some of my other news and notes as we go. We do have Washington this weekend coming up. The Eagles opened as 3.5-point favorites on the road against Washington. So a very good opportunity for the Eagles to lock up the division for good, to continue pushing for the potential of a home field playoff or home field throughout the playoffs. So we will keep an eye on that. We will discuss that all week long. But again, I'm Phil Stiefel. This is the Eagles Checkdown, the fastest under 10-minute Eagles podcast there is. Go Birds! And Bubbles, up to you.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write a million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.